Hey, how's it going today, everybody? I'm going to post another version of the 2-1 comp clan boss team. This particular version is the one I am currently running, and essentially what I have done is I have swapped out Razin for Venus. Now, what I've really gotten out of this, I did get Razin up to a 1 key. But when I pulled Venus in the 10 times event for her, I decided I would build her and give her a try. She really is giving me 1 to 2 million more damage than Razin. That's it. So Razin was able in the course of the fight to crank out 19 to 20 million. Venus is giving me perhaps 21 to 22 million max. What I did do when I built Venus, though, was I did increase her accuracy and got it over 300. Razin I was running at 260. That probably made things more consistent. I also redid the speeds on the team so that I could run Venus at over 200. Now, if you remember, this was originally running at 208. If you were to look at the speed calculator, and maybe I can bring that up after the run is done and just show you all their setup in the speed calculators. But I will quickly just go through. I mean, if you can see, I've got her at a pretty solid defensive setup, especially considering she's in Stalwart. 3600 defense in Stalwart will last a long time. Because of her very high speed, being 112 for base speed, instead of, I was running Alton at 208 in this spot, I'm running her at 204. I do have her just under 200. When I ran her at 177, I had her at about 220, but this is slightly less, but it's what I could get to get her at the speeds she needed and to also have her be quite tanky. I mean, her main goal is laying down poisons, and that's where the majority of her damage does come from, although she is doing decent physical damage as well. Additionally, if I continue on, this was my Razin, by the way. He's not part of this team, but you can see I ran him in a kind of a similar setup. If I continue on, I've retooled Alton. I've slowed him down quite a bit, actually. I tried him at 177. That did not work out, so then I moved him closer to 190. I'm actually running him a little slower than 190. I could probably speed him up successfully, and I'm just running him with loose stuff. But again, I've got him at a pretty solid stat rate, 5,000 defense and 224 crit damage. So he does pretty good damage, and he has a fair amount of survivability as well. I've got Dutchess. I slowed her down to 177, and within doing that, I was able to get her just under 7,000 defense, and still achieve a pretty high critical rate. And I can't get her health points lower than 35k, unfortunately. I would love it if I could get this down a little bit lower, but I could not. So with my current setup, I'm just almost, completely loose gear. If I was to go through that gear, you will see that it's a lot of crit rate and defense for her. Defense, 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 and more of the same. So just across the board. I've done a very similar setup with Valk. I got her out of Stalwart. Once upon a time, I did have her in Stalwart. she is also defense across the board. With one exception, and the one exception is right here, because in order to get 231, I just couldn't achieve that with a defense boots. But I do have some really crazy defense rolls on some of these, so this being the one exception. I wanted crit rate, and I preferred crit rate with some defense over nothing, and hopefully I'll find a good replacement for this sometime in the near future. And then lastly, once again, I didn't even max this out. I don't need the other stat, although if it gave hit point or crit damage, it could be beneficial, I guess. And again, defense, defense, defense. Marshall, I haven't changed him significantly since I originally built him. If you look at his overall stats, he is the lowest defense. He is in stalwart, 3200 with Valk shield. Will last. I've seen a few instances where he gets crit and killed on turn 49, but that's not very common. And I've also I've been able to complete a 1-key even with that. So I'm confident that it's doing pretty well. Again, the crit rate's solid but not amazing. The critical damage is good, and the accuracy is also really high. And with him, this is a stalwart set and some loose relentless that I have, some really good rolls on. And then some speed boots that, have crit rate and defense. So they were also pretty beneficial. I did have to use defense here, unfortunately. That's not my preference, but in order to have his defense high enough, this was the only way I could do it. So, again, I don't have great defense there, but that's I just didn't have a better to put on him. That's something I maybe can tweak, actually. Crit damage there and accuracy. I think I missed one champion. No, I didn't. That's it. So we've got Valk, we've got Marshall, we've got Dutchess, we've got Alton, and we now have Venus. So if we go into the clan boss run, now this is just a terribly long run. This run's more or less the same on Nightmare. It'll do a little bit more damage. If I just set it and run, it'll do about 80-some million damage on Nightmare. If I manual key it starting on turn 49, I've done as much as 105 million with this team. This should 1-key. I'm going to go ahead and start it up. It doesn't 1-key by a lot. It's usually in the 70 to 74 million range, and usually tending toward the low end, but it has not failed to 1-key since I have rebuilt it. So we're going to go ahead and start this up. I will show you the deadwoodjedi.com, show you the speed charts and the setup for it a little bit after this run is done. But to start this up, you right away you're going to put Marshall, get his speed boost up. You're going to wait 2 turns on Valk. You're going to immediately get the defense down and weaken. You're going to wait 2 turns on Alton, and you're going to wait 2 turns on Dutchess. So there's 1 of each. Now we'll go ahead and run. Second Valk, second Alton, and second Dutchess. At this point, we'll just hit auto, and it's going to churn through and dish out quite a bit of damage each turn. This syncs up at turn 9, just like the other version of the comp did. I was able to run this literally at the same speed. So using, I just initially when I did this, I plugged Venus in for Razin straight away, and the damage output was maybe 1 million or two higher, but that was enough to consistently tip me over the scale of a 1 key. And then I rebuilt her so she was faster and would be usable in dungeons since I don't have another AoE defense down and weaken champion. Um, so it's worked out pretty well so far. I'm going to walk away for a minute. This will run for 20 minutes probably. So I will check back when it's done, and then I will show you the speeds on the speed calculator and what I've. Okay, you can see we're getting near the end here. Typically you're going to see some people get killed at the turn 50. So that's what I'm anticipating to see right here. There is some risk of stray crits picking off people, and if you pick off the wrong person, it's possible this could not be a 1 key. You can see it's starting to get dangerously close with Alton. Under most circumstances, I've not seen issues with him dying here, so we'll see what happens. Yep, it looks good. So you're going to see he will kill Dutchess now on turn 50, and then this will play out for another couple turns, and it should end up with about 71 million, I'm going to guess, or maybe 70.5. All right, bye-bye Duchess. Now you're going to see we'll get a shield off. Everybody's going to survive this one, and they will die on the next turn. This is a pretty normal how my runs look. So he'll kill everybody now, and it'll be about, range of 72 million. So the main difference on Nightmare is that I can manual with Duchess, and Valkyrie still has shield left on her, and I can get that to last 67 turns maybe if it goes really well, 64 otherwise. So that's it. You can see the damage breakdown here. Venus is doing nearly 22 million, pushing 18 million out of Alton, and then Valkyrie, Marshall, and Dutchess all are in the 10 to 11 million range. Really common setup. This 2 million right here, that's kind of the difference between Venus and Razin. Typically, Razin would get around 20 million at most. Occasionally, he'd be as low as 19, and those 19s were when I wasn't getting the 1 key out of him. The damage from Duchess, Valkyrie, and Marshall is pretty consistent. It's around 10. I did have less crit on Valkyrie, and I would sometimes see her somewhat lower when I was using him, but otherwise you can see it's a pretty solid setup, and it's not fail-safe because there can be a stray crit that could ruin it. Anytime somebody dies, this is going to lose its 2-for-1 value, and if that's late turns, it's going to lead to a wipe real quick. So it's not 100% fail-safe 1 key, but it is pretty close. It's as close as I'm able to get, and I've gone over a week now of 1 keying this, with this setup. So I'm pretty comfortable that it will continue to be. I can see that there's probably going to be a stray crit or two where I'm not going to end up with the 1 key, but on most days this is a 1 key. I did say I would bring up Deadwood Jedi speed calculator and show the team structure and show my approach. So anytime I'm trying to do tuning on this is always what I do. So if you take a look, you'll see Duchess is the speed lead. I have her at 177 total. I have her base speed at 103. Speed set 1, no lore of steel. I'm waiting 2 turns. That's important because if she does not have her shield on at the right time, she will cast her regular attack and it will wipe out the shield that is on one of the champs. And specifically the one that it would wipe out would be Mashald. You don't want her to replace the shield that you're getting from Valkyrie with her own much weaker shield. So that is why I ended up having to stagger this the way I did. Valkyrie, in order for it to click right on turn 9, I wait 2 turns, and Alton, with his speed being where it's at, I also end up waiting 2 turns. And so if you follow this through, you can see when this clicks at turn 9. So I'm basically, when I'm doing this, I'm looking at turns 1 through 8 to see if there's any anomalies that'll screw it up, that'll cause somebody to get stunned in a bad situation, or that will otherwise cause things to be out of order. But then ultimately I'm looking at when this is going to click, at least for this particular comp. And once it clicks, I want to make sure that each AoE has a Valkyrie shield. I want to make sure that Duchess is casting her A2 in a timely manner that won't ruin somebody else's shield as well. And otherwise, this should just carry through. I'll make another video tomorrow that actually shows the same setup on Nightmare. I'll go ahead and run through a manual for 100 million damage, or right in that vicinity. I've had some stray wipes that keeps me below 100 million when I try this out, but usually it's pretty consistent, right at or just a hair over 100 million. So I'll run that out in another video. I will post a link to my first video, the Razin video, below, and please feel free to leave a comment or reach out on the Hard Up Heroes Discord if you have any questions or comments. Have a great day.